today. Hello and welcome to Separated by Water. Um, Welcome back. This weekend it is, as you were, so to speak, West Ham lose and remain in the relegation position. Nottingham Forest lose and hold their 2 point position above the relegation zone. And Tottenham lose and sit on 29 points, looking anything but comfortable. 3 defeats, three nervous fan bases, one tightening table. Colin, this is new territory for you as a Spurs supporter. Welcome to the relegation battle club. How are the nerves?
Thank you. Thank you very much. May I say that it brings me no pleasure to be part of that club, but that part of that club we very much are. Yeah, you say we're new to it, and that probably say a few things about that. One is we are in recent years. They flirted with it in the mid-90s and were relegated, of course, in the late 70s and came back very, very strongly. I don't want that to happen this time. The other one is being new to it. Do the players realise? Because they don't look like it. That was a performance with their flip-flops on Sunday. So the nerves aren't good. My nerves are not good. We'll come to some criteria for the relegation fight shortly. But no, I think that we are very much in that relegation battle. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. You know, you're sitting in a stronger position than both ourselves and West Ham. You've a 4 point cushion. Is that comfortable enough for you at the minute? And I'm not being flippant. I mean, do you look comfortable with that 4 point advantage?
No, it's the most uncomfortable cushion I've probably ever sat on. If you don't mind me saying, no, it's not good at all. I mean, it's two. I think with goal difference, it's probably 2 wins rather than a win and a draw. But given current form, it's not. No, it's not at all. I think there are a number of teams in there, but I think Spurs are in a very bad place. Definitely at the minute. Yep. Go ahead. Oh no, I was going to come back to you and say,
yeah, go.
Are you worried? I mean, you're only 2 points above the drop. I see nothing in any of this points difference at the minute. But how worried are you? You qualified you nearly qualified for the Champions League last season in league performances. You're now in the Europa League and doing well. So you couldn't have foreseen what was going to happen this season. So are you worried?
Oh. Worried, Colin. I spend my time looking at the bottom 3-4 positions in the table, as I did 2 years ago whenever we won on the last day. We beat Arsenal last day to stay up. And for the week before that, I just kept on studying, looking at all the different combinations to see if anybody could bail us out or anything could bail us out. We have, I understand there's rumours now in the rumour mill that Edu hasn't been at the last two games. You're always on about Enoch. I put this firmly at the feet of Edu. I think that he came in and he created disharmony in a club and created all sorts of hassles. And I hope he's gone, because we need to get back to good recruitment. We need to get back to harmony at the club. Morgan Gibbs-White walked towards the crowd the other day to clap the crowd on Sunday, and whilst he was clapping, he was seen to do lip read. It's effing happened again. In other words, we're beat by 1 goal, and the goal happened straight after the goal. What a goal Morgan Gibbs-White scored, by the way, out of the lanes, outside the box, top right-hand corner as you're looking at the goal, top left-hand if you're the keeper. What a goal. But to answer your question, I'm waffling. Am I worried? Yes, very worried. I believe, do you remember when we used to play soccer as a kid, you say next goal's the winner just to get the game over and done with? I reckon next win The next team between, I reckon, the next team between Spurs, West Ham, and Forest that win a game will take advantage in this relegation battle. Cause and that's us on Wednesday night against City. West Ham have their game on Wednesday night as well. Who are they playing again? Crystal Palace, is it?
No, Villa. I think they're playing Villa.
Oh, you Pascal Villa.
Yeah.
So we have an advantage. We have a chance to go one ahead of you. But then again, if we don't take that advantage, and you guys are playing on Thursday night, you know what you have to do. You know how valuable the 3 points will be for you. But we'll just wait and see. But on that, then, Colin, if Spurs lose the next game, do you then? I don't know if you believe in a relegation mode. I think a team plays differently when they're in a relegation mode. If you lose the next game, are you officially going to go into relegation mode then and just treat it all like cup finals? Every game's like a cup final.
Well, hopefully, hopefully we don't lose the next
Yeah.
game, but hopefully we're treating these like cup finals already. Although I don't see any evidence in terms of performances or in terms of what Igor Tudor is trying to get us to do. My distaste for a back three in the Premiership. I just can't be convinced unless you've grown up with it. I think we were a back four team. Won us Europa League last year and on other games. And I hope he gets the hang of that very quickly. But I haven't seen anything from him or from the ownership or from the players to suggest or anything but going to be dependent on other teams to lose more than we will. Now, we'll have a chance on Thursday night. I don't want to tempt fate, but Palace are kind of set up for us there. They lost on Sunday, unluckily, and Glasner and the supporters aren't on the best of terms. There's a sense of it crumbling down a wee bit after last year's high, and I feel very sorry for that because I like Palace, but on this occasion I don't like them at all, and I hope Spurs can finally find something to give us all a bit of a cheer. A muted cheer it will be, but still something of a cheer, and win this game. I agree. If one team wins and the others lose, they can slightly pull out of it. And I know Palace might slip into it then a bit more. Leeds probably feel. I was talking to a Leeds fan, big shout to the wonderful Andrew McClelland, great guy, who was talking to me, and he believes Leeds are still in trouble. But I haven't seen them on at the weekend against City. God, they were unlucky, and they played with fire in the bellies. Calvert-Lewin, the other side of the post, one in, and they would have been away with it. They played well against what is, of course, a very, very experienced, mature Manchester City team who know how to take the blows and then nip up and get one. And right to the end, I think Leeds were always in the game. But City had a wee bit more possession at times, but 1-0 could be one each. So I see that. I see others, but I'll come to that maybe in a wee minute because of some criteria I'll put together for what you need to look at when you're in a relegation fight, because we are. I mean, you asked me to say, if you lose the next two, I think that it's relative in a way. You could lose. You either try to control your own fate and win the games you play and forget about everyone else and just say we're going to win. We're working to win or draw. And if we can't win, don't lose. And that would be good enough along the way here. Or you're relying on everyone else, looking over your shoulder, looking around you, looking in the mirror, and what the hell, who's doing what? And that's a very, very dangerous and nerve-wracking way to exist.
Well, it's hard not to. I find it very hard not to look at what everybody else is doing. That's 3 weekends in a row that any one of these three teams could have taken advantage of getting a victory and slipping up on the others. And West Ham have lost 3 in a row. You've lost 5 in a row. We've lost 3 in a row. Yeah. So, but yeah, I sort of think maybe, Colin, this could be one off the pitch. And I think we need to look at what's going on in the clubs themselves. And I know that Spurs are in trouble, and we'll come to Tudor in a minute. I'll ask you the difficult question about Tudor in a wee while. But I think that maybe it may be the condition of the clubs, what's going on off the pitch, that might determine how it finishes up. Because all three clubs are clearly in turmoil. And is it just going to be a case of which one's in the greater turmoil? The toxicity that can exist at West Ham whenever they turn against their team.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's the same
yeah,
with
it's a mess.
Spurs, and 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 maybe it's going to be the same with us. I don't know. Um, I don't know. It's very worrying
It
times. But
does.
in answer to your questions or your
Yeah.
statement, it's very hard not to look at the other teams.
No, I appreciate that. But I still feel sometimes the teams can just go, look, let's do what we can do. Let's win our own. Let's control the controllables, as they say.
Yeah,
Influence what we can influence and forget about what we can neither control or influence. And that's
yeah,
results beyond, two other teams playing. God knows what can happen. I have a fear that West Ham have a win in them. Who knows? Or Forest or whomever it might be. There could be a surprise coming yet. I think Burnley and Wolves are gone. No offence to them. I think there's too much to happen. And from what we've seen, it's highly unlikely. What I would say is that Burnley and Wolves have given a very good account of themselves, in my opinion. I know they'll say, well, Wolves have only just beaten the Derby record there, but they brought Rob Edwards in. I think they realised they're already down, hence the sale of some players and saying to build us to come back up again. And I think I've seen better in this since the turn of the year from them than I had prior to that. So but I think they're gone. I think the West Ham, Tottenham, Nottingham Forest, possibly Leeds still think they're there. Mathematically, they certainly are.
they're
Possibly
not that far out.
Palace. Brentford, the other perennials, Brentford and ones who went down to Sunderland and all, are happy bunnies. I think it's narrowed down. But before we discuss the next three games, I'd drawn up some criteria that I thought, we'll talk about this relegation fight. I'll sort of mention what I think Spurs are in this, and then if you don't mind, you come in and give me your reaction to how you think Forest are in this, and
I'll
then we can
try.
maybe
I'll try.
jointly talk about West Ham and Leeds. The five criteria I have for the relegation fight. Criterion number one is mathematical. In other words, if you lose the rest of your games and every other team wins the rest of the games, you're going down. So we both are. So we're in a relegation fight that way. And it brings in the Leeds of the world and maybe Palace and so on. A reality will kick in and form will kick in. But, it means we're definitely there. And there's a lot of points to be played for yet. We're talking about the next 3 games, the next 5 games, whatever. A lot of points still to be played for. So that is a worrying scenario. And game after next, we're going to Liverpool. Current form, right? I would say Tottenham's current form is abysmal. It's appalling. It's unacceptable. It's terrible. I just the way, the defeats after defeat after defeat is wearing. And if you have any love for the club at all, it has to affect you, and it has affected me. What about Forest? Your current last 5 fixtures, current form, not much better, Paul, if any at all.
Yeah, no, I do. Maybe you know me, I'm always, where concerns Nottingham Forest, I'm always the eternal optimist. I always hold on to the hope that the player we bought's going to be brilliant. And I don't immediately say he only cost 20 million. And how could we not be buying more expensive players? Um, I think we were unlucky on Sunday. We gave away a very quick goal
Yeah,
straight afterwards, and then the game was
yeah.
just basically we were butting off one another. Um, we, it's just I think we have enough in the tank to do it, but it's all about what West Ham can do. And I've said it before. I think there's a pantomime villain that Nuno can get one over on Marinakis and have the last laugh on him at the last day
Well,
of the season.
he could get one over
Um,
on Tottenham, if both of us go
Yeah,
down,
I know, but what I mean is
But
he's
I'd
no
take the
real
burn
links
there.
with Tottenham other
Yeah.
than, I know he
Well, he
was
was
sacked there,
sacked
but
by them.
you
Yeah.
know the
Yeah.
circumstances of why he's in the
I
West Ham
understand.
job now. It's more current. The last game of the season for West Ham is against Leeds, and I don't. That cannot be ignored. That's going to be a massive game, and I have this feeling that we're all going to be watching the games the last season, watching every game, taking over, not to see
Mm,
who's going to win it, but to see who's going to be relegated. And my nerve won't
yeah.
be able to take it. It's
Oh,
very
no.
worrying. Very
Yeah.
worrying.
Okay.
Give me your
So
five
it brings me to,
criteria.
well, okay. Number three criterion is current form, but versus the other teams there. So what I mean by that is we're talking about Leeds, Palace, obviously Tottenham Forest. We've mentioned West Ham, Burnley, and Wolves. I don't think we need to focus on. But West Ham, I worry about them. I'm sorry, in this context, worry about them. In that, I look at Bowen. I look at the two forwards brought in the window. Suchek, I think they're decent, and I still think they've got a win in them, or a couple of wins. That's what
I
sort of
agree.
worries me. So I
That's what
don't
worries
think
me
our
too.
current form takes me forward with the degree of confidence that possibly West Ham's might. And they're being quite quiet about this. I still think Nuno has them pumped, where he said, look, guys, we can still do this. Now, Villa, when playing Villa need to wise up. Villa, were odds on. It's not about them winning the league. Now, I know Emery played that down, but still they were. And now talking about being in the Champions League. And now that's getting a wee bit strange. And they need to be wary because 2 seasons out of the Champions League after one in it will start to feel like failure, no matter how well you're doing. And fans of short memories will forget how recently they came back up from the Championship. But Villa need to worry, and I hope they realise that. And frankly, sorry, West Ham fans, but hopefully they give West Ham a good tanking, and knock a bit of stuffing out. And that's how reduced it has become now for
Yeah.
me, Because unlike a lot of my compatriots, and I know West Ham hate us, I've no real distaste for West Ham, you know. But current form versus other teams. As I said, when I watched Leeds the other night, I thought, God, that looks like a decent team altogether. They were up for it and fired up and going for it. Now they lost against, as I said, a very good Man City team. There was always a very good Man City team, but there was no shame in it. There was shame in our match. I
Hmm.
think we were. I think we were so bad it was unbelievable. So current form against other teams worries me because I do think Forest have. I know the names better because you've been tutoring me in them all season. But you've got Gibbs White, who's a good one. I think Sells back in nets is good. I think Elliot Anderson and a few others. And I'll run through them all. But I think you've got key players there who are playing well. And I think we don't. They're all on the. So, and I've mentioned some of the West Ham players and I've mentioned some Leeds players. So, I think that versus other teams, that they still have more possibilities. And that's what worries me. We need to.
Yeah.
Solanke on Sunday was anonymous. Our goal was all right. But I just don't know. Van den Ven and Transbest, we're all doing one of these wavy runs forward. Gets over the halfway line, loses the ball, and then we're in trouble. Dragosin, I think that's an anagram for dragging us into relegation, But what can we do? These are the players who are fit. Therefore, I love them all, and let's see what we do. But when I look at the players on other teams, I think current form versus other teams, we're in trouble. The next criterion, Paul, was injuries. Now, in that one, we are the
Hmm.
champions of injuries. I'll not go on about how many of our players are injured, but nearly all are, And key players like Kulachevsky, Bentancur, Madison, who's been out all season, Bergval, Spence now apparently, Kudos, Romero suspended. Our key players in a battle like this, and we just don't have them. I don't know. Is Forest's injury situation as bad? The other teams do not seem to be as bad. There's no big names.
No, we're very lucky thus far. Touch wood. If we get hit with injuries now, we're in the soapy bubble, as they say. We're mathematically, I think that's something that you're in a better position than we are. Current form,
Right.
I think we're in a better position current form than you are.
Yeah.
Injuries, I think we're in a better position current form than
Mm.
you are. But the thing
You're
is,
2-1
Colin,
up.
you've got 4 points. You've got 4 points on West Ham. You have two
Yeah,
points on us.
yeah.
Uh, Even if West Ham get that victory, if West Ham get that victory, we're then in the relegation zone, assuming that we don't get a victory. We drop into the relegation zone, and you're still safe. You still have a point on them. But so 4 points is a lot more. It's a lot more than 2 points, if you know what I mean. It's only 2 points, but in the scale of things, it's a victory. It's a victory and a point away from
Yeah,
West Ham.
well, I think what goal difference were two wins ahead of West Ham.
Yep.
But all it takes is West Ham to win, Forest to win, and us to lose, and we're in big trouble. Now we're going to Liverpool after a week and a half after the Palace game, after the FA Cup, and we're not going to win there. Just as simple as that. Then we've got your lot, and that's going to be a battle
I think
royal.
that's that. I think there's two crunch matches that are going to take place in the last 10 games. You've just named one of them. Us come to you,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Leeds and West Ham on the last day is going to be crucial, absolutely crucial.
Yeah,
What's the
I
last
think there's still
criteria?
the last criteria is what I call fight, or who's up for it and who's not. And I would put us bottom of the league on that one. I think West Ham have been used to a battle. Okay, you talk about the team, maybe the club, but the players, some of them maybe not. But I do think they've been in this position all season and they've become hardened to it. You know what I mean? Tottenham
Mm.
started the season beating Man City and beating Burnley and thinking we were going to walk it all. And we're slept our way through to Christmas thinking, well, we'll sort something out. Everyone was saying, oh, you're never going to be in that position, but we are. And I think that Forest and Spurs are suffering from that a wee bit. Forest from the immediate hangover of last season's success and the tantalising effect of the Europa League this season. But what worries me is I say Tottenham have not shown any fight for this at all. Can you comment on Forest? It looked like they gave it a go against Brighton.
I honestly think so. I'm going to deal with the maths. I put down Forest and Spurs here. We'll leave West Ham out of it at the minute. Mathematically, you get the point.
Yeah,
You get the tick there.
yeah, okay.
Current form. I think we've just got that wee bit better form than you have. Although we didn't get the results, but I
Yeah,
feel that we're performing better.
yeah, I give you that.
Injuries. I think we're very lucky with no
Yeah,
injuries. I think you are really struggling with it.
or a
Fight.
mess, yeah.
I think we've much more fight in us than you have. I really do.
I agree with that.
Um,
Yeah, I agree with that.
I was told to tell you a funny story. I
Oh,
I
God.
met up with a couple of guys the other night, and I said, "Will we do a tenner ahead sweep?" And
Mm-hmm.
and you don't get to pick your teams. I wrote down West Ham, I wrote down Spurs, and I wrote down Forest, and it's a tenner ahead, and whoever picks the team that's relegated gets the 30 quid. Martin gets Spurs, Stephen get West Ham, and I get Forest. Don't you know? And before I drew it, I
So a
said to
nice
the
way
big
to
guy,
win 30 quid.
well, Martin immediately said, "Tell Colin I look forward to get my 30 quid because he thinks you're in real trouble as well." And
Oh,
I
yeah, yeah, we are.
honestly do. I honestly do, Colin. I mean this with for the sake of this podcast, if for nothing else, I hope that Spurs don't get relegated. But I really do think you're in trouble. And I
So do
think that
I. Well,
I
we're totally agreed.
where I can't see where it's coming from. I can't see where the victory's coming from. We pulled a couple of rabbits out of the hat, and maybe you've hit on something that is a bad idea. That you go and get something from Liverpool, you go and get something from Man City, you get something like a draw against Arsenal. Nobody else is getting draws against Arsenal. We got a draw against them a few weeks ago,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now they're I've looked at the comparison games that you've played against the teams that we've managed to get a good result out of, and
Mm.
you are behind on that balance. That
Yeah,
the
yeah,
teams that
yeah.
but um, so I'm saying this in part of my head. I'm saying we're going to be fine, and then I'll finish this podcast. I'll end the stream and I'll go, oh God, we're going to get relegated. I'm
Mm.
not thinking the same thing for 2 minutes, and I'm very worried about it. Really, very worried about it. And I have to say that the influence at some stage, they're going to have to say, right, forget about Europe and keep us in the. And I hope that's what they do. It's too early to do it yet. put out the
Yeah.
best team against Midtjylland and see what we can get. But I think that we at some stage we need to say, right, forget about the Europa League. It's more important that we stay in the Premiership. And the reason I say that is because what you discussed last week and rightly said, it's not the old days. You don't go down into the Championship and go straight back up again because you're Nottingham Forest or because you're Spurs. It doesn't happen
Mm.
anymore. So I think that that's going to be a vital situation. Colin, I have to ask you the question. I know I don't want to start battering managers again, but if you lose on Thursday night, is the tenure of Tudor going to come into question straight away, or what do you think?
I think that it
What
will.
is
I think that it will. I think that this Lewis Enoch, to be clear, 24, 25, whatever years of Enoch, um, are holding their breath, panicking, because there's so much riding on this. They've made all these promises about, oh, next season we're going to invest and we're going to do this, we're going to kill dead things, yeah, whatever. But if they were to try to sell, and there's talk of that again, they'll be selling it a very, very weak product if it has gone down. So there, when you look at the teams who went down last season, this bouncing back up immediately isn't just as certain as it used to be. I mean, Southampton are way down there. Look what happened. Look, Luton, Coventry haven't been in the league for 25 odd years. Middlesbrough, it's been a lot of years. Ipswich are trying their best to come back up, but there's no guarantee in there. So you don't go down and come back up anymore. In my opinion, it's not a given, and the amount of money that's lost in even having to do that. So it's a doom watch scenario beyond any description. Whoever appointed Igor Tudor, and I'm not talking about him as a person or a human being just at the moment. I'd like to hear what the criteria were for somebody who hasn't managed in the Premier League. The accepted wisdom was a steady hand, a calming hand, someone who's been in a relegation battle before, maybe knows the right things to say, the right things to do, and the right formations to get out of the team that's available. And probably we're talking about Harry Redknapp. I know he's very old. He's old. He's not very old. He's not probably not much older than me. But I was thinking along those lines, as you'll recall. So Igor, what we haven't got with Igor, a couple of things I'll say from my own point of view, personal point of view. One is the new manager bounce. It's been an absolute splash. And the other one is a tactical system that I can fucking well understand, never mind the players. I don't think it's the right idea to come in and start to change things around too much. And I look at the players and I wonder, are they really committed to what it is they're trying to do? Now, contrast that with Man United, who were in a very poor position. Carrick come in and freed the reins and just shaped them, only tampered with them to get them into a shape that they felt excited about and confident with, and off they went. I'm not saying we can do exactly the same thing, but we can maybe do a wee bit closer. The question you really ask is, I think that there's a danger that Tudor could be in bother if we lose against Crystal Palace, because we'll lose against Liverpool, and that will have given West Ham and Forest and Leeds, let's say, two opportunities to get up on us, and that, admittedly you're away to City, but it's two opportunities still to catch Tottenham, and we can't afford that. And I would not like to be going into the game against Forest beneath you guys. So, everything's at stake here against Crystal Palace on Thursday night. It is.
Yeah. So I'm going to preface this question I'm going to ask you with a bit of my opinion about Forest. We have a few people that I would say are leaders in the dressing room. I think Morgan Gibbs White is a very good captain. He seems to be passionate about Forest until he goes somewhere else. Of course, he's always said he'll always celebrate. He'll always celebrate a goal for the team he's playing for, no matter who it's against, and I respect that.
Yeah, of course.
Ryan Yates probably are one of our least technical players, but what he lacks in technical ability, he makes up for it with commitment for the club. He's been at Forest since he was a boy. He's only played for one club, except for when he was in loan,
Yeah.
and that's Nottingham Forest. He dislocated his finger the other day, and he called the staff over and said, "Put it back in," and he played on.
Look at it
He
again.
got
Yeah.
a bit of bandaging around it, stayed and played on. So I believe that we've got leaders in the dressing room, and I put this question to
Mm.
Colin. Being in the bottom three, like West Ham, or hovering just above it, and pretending, not pretending you're safe. You're not pretending you're safe.
No,
But
that's
do you have a leader in the dressing room that do you have a leader
no.
in the dressing room that can
Well,
that
no. I
spurs
mean,
trail through?
no, we don't. I mean, I
No.
can't think about a name that you want to go in the back of the shirt at the minute. Romero Van den Ven should be. Romero is a leader getting sent off. Van den Ven probably is,
Yeah.
but he needs to sort of show the leadership. It isn't necessarily the best player technically who's the best leader. In the heyday of Tottenham in the early 80s, Graham Roberts was a real leader. He mightn't even have been the captain at times, and he wasn't the best player by any stretch. Probably out of that 11, he might have been the ninth best player. But by God, you listen, if he gave you a rattle, you listen to him, and he would have gone through brick walls for Spurs. I've had the privilege of meeting him a few times and reminiscing. God, he's still built like a brick shit house. Still a good, strong guy. Good luck to him. So I don't think we do. I think with people who sort of go missing a wee bit, or do a wee bit of mouthing, or a wee bit of Instagram, or a wee bit of social media, but they need to get on there and say, right, you lot, come on. A guy, Roy Keane, to be frightened the bejesus out of you, and you played for fear of sanction, so to speak.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think we'll have anyone like that, and I think that has been our problem. When Spurs haven't been playing well, it's because they haven't got that sort of a guy on the team, So that's a bit that worries me too. Absolutely.
Well, back to Tudor. I don't know if
Yeah.
he's heard it. I did text you about his press conference. I thought it was a very strange approach. He's starting to dig out his players already, in a public forum, and I don't think that that's going to help. Um, and I think it's very how would you say it? It's a bit Sean Dyche, but Sean Dyche spelt his own
Yeah.
exit by digging out the players.
Yeah.
And naming
Yeah.
them and saying that they lacked attitude, they lacked capability, and don't be coming knocking my door again. Tudor was. Did you hear the press? Have you listened to the press conference?
Yeah, I did. Once you texted me, I went to and wasn't. I don't know I don't know what to think about it. I wasn't impressed by it. It didn't inspire me. It can always be everyone else's fault. But who sent them out? You accepted the job. Now this is the biggest challenge I've ever had. Well, it's too big a challenge. You shouldn't have accepted or stepped down now. We don't need to hear that. It's not about you, darling. It's not about your problems. You're the manager.
Yeah.
Manage. Get in there. Don't be telling me how difficult it is. Go and do it. And if you can't do it, for God's sake, get out, because we still have a chance to get somebody in with 10, well, what could be then 9 or 8 games left. I want to hear how he was appointed. I'm nothing against him. I hope to goodness that he produces something. And what the managers produce once the players get on the pitch, it's up to them. I know that, but the players are going on to the pitch with a mindset, and internally, they're going out individually and as a team with a mindset that should be set by the manager. And if it's not, well, then what's the manager there for? Anyway,
Yeah.
I've told a great story. The stories about Harry Redknapp that I'd heard about how he motivated the players, and he said, "And from now on, we'll start winning." And you believe that? And he said, "Yeah, we're going to win on Sunday. We're going to win on Thursday. We're going to win. We're going to do that." And you play until the final whistle, and you play for each other and with each other, and for the shirt and for the fans. The Spurs fans could be heard loud and clear on Sunday. I know Craven Cottage isn't a big stadium, but still, they're there after a hiding they took from Arsenal the week before, and all the hidings they've taken. And, it's a privilege to play in front of such wonderful fans, loyal fans as those. And people go, oh, they're booing and all that. Get out of here. Get out of here, because that team has deserved to be booed. And the ownership and the chief
I just hope
executive.
you don't.
All
I
of them.
don't. I just hope that we don't look back in this at the end of the season and I say to you, do you think the booing was the right thing? Because it could end up being I don't think booing's a
Well, they
constructive
weren't booing on Sunday, by the
method to
way.
get your
Let's
teams
be
to play.
clear. They weren't booing on Sunday, by the way. Let's be clear. And that was a long time, quite a while ago, and for specific reasons. We're now in a new area. We'll discuss that. I am
So,
saying what I'm
Paul,
saying is, in just point of view of the Spurs fans, get out to the players, get out there and play for them. It's a privilege. You'll never, none of you will have the privilege again. And don't waste it, because you are wasting it at the minute. Yeah.
Your 5 criteria: math, current form, injuries, fight, and what was the other one?
The third one, actually, it was first mathematical. We talked about the points.
Yeah.
Second one was current form. We looked at. The third one was current form versus the other teams. So that was, we're saying that Tottenham's current form, West Ham's current form is even better than Tottenham's. You know what I mean? Is there anything to go there? The fourth one was injuries, and the fifth one was fight. Up for it.
So I'm going to ask you them as a fast five.
Yeah.
And you tell me, you're going to say either Forest has it or Spurs have it. Mathematically, Spurs or Forest?
Spurs.
Current form, Spurs or Forest?
Forest.
Current form against closer teams,
the others,
Spurs or Forest?
Well, I think it's Forest, obviously, but I think the team there maybe could actually scare us is West Ham. Okay, injuries. Forest are immensely better off. They've got their best players on the pitch, and you've named them. We don't.
Yeah. And fight?
Forest. For all it was said, I think that there are guys in there who understand belatedly maybe what, the Forest team I saw in December against Spurs at the City Ground were eager, knew what they were doing. I cannot believe what's happened since then, frankly, to Forest, never mind Spurs, that they've fallen so badly because they look so good that day. But I think we need to show some fight, and it's not half-hearted, playing, look at me trying there. Xavi Simons went missing on Sunday. Solanke was anonymous. I don't know anyone I could say had really a good game, and that's trying to be kind. And when Richarlison comes on, and after falling over twice, getting the goal, you think, Jesus, what's all up now? Richarlison's an example of where maybe the problem is for some of these players. Richarlison came to play in the Champions League. He signed for 60-odd million from Everton when Spurs were going into the Champions League the next season under Antonio Conte. Pedro Porro came with Champions League experience. Romero's a World Cup winner. Van den Ven is a Dutch international. Udogie was one of the best players, and he's injured for God. So, there are players there who maybe think they're too good or just can't assimilate. Can't understand the nature of the relegation battle. They're still posing around thinking that, the other team will give them plenty of time to ball, But the last thing I can probably say, Paul, there's an old saying it's like a philosophical saying, sometimes out of nothing can come something. And that time, we both played competitive sport to a certain level. The time when, for no apparent reason at all, you all of a sudden start to play a blinder. That way. Or maybe you and I weren't sure what our individual form. We'll go out and play a golf match against a team, and all of a sudden we're hamming and egging it, and the ball's going in, or the 8-iron bumping runs are getting up close, the drives are straight. And you can't say, why on earth has that happened? Because it wasn't happening yesterday or the day before, And I'm hoping that just that happens to Spurs. That all of a sudden just something happens on Thursday night when it's only saying, this is what we need to do, and we're going to do it, I hope. But then there is always hope. And this is my chance, hold on. Just when I say that, and an unashamed plug for the book, There Is Always Hope.
Yeah.
And anyone who's had a serious illness, diagnosis, or anyone's close to it. Yeah. And I wrote that about, I do mention Spurs actually numerous times, and at that time they hadn't won a trophy. So my life has never been peaceful. But out of nothing comes something. And in a sporting context, it's just that time, and all of a sudden it seems to click for no apparent reason. And that's what I'm hoping for on Thursday night.
Let's look at the next games. Tell me where. So I'm going to ask you about yours. Palace the last time I asked you,
Mhm.
I think we have about 10,000 views of that on TikTok and various
Yeah,
comments about your what's in your bottle,
yeah.
etc. So you said
Uh,
Palace 3 points, Liverpool
well, what's
zero
in that?
points, and Forest 3 points. What do you feel,
Yeah, I
Colin?
have to say, I
Do you
have
stand by that 303?
to, yeah, yeah, I have to. Yeah, I think
Well,
that it's now or never, darling. You know, um, because
I
if you look, and then we're doing current form versus others, right? Look at yourself. What do you think? So I'm going 303. What are you going with your three?
I I thought we could beat at Man City. I feel there's something's going to have to happen soon. So I'm hoping we can get a draw at City, a draw at Fulham, and I think we could maybe, and with current form, I think we can beat you at
So you've
Tottenham
got
Hotspur
5 points
Stadium.
there.
Well,
Yeah. Well, your
that's
five makes.
I'm changing that
Yeah.
because I said 0 points at City, 0 points at Fulham, and 1 point at Spurs. I predicted 5 points altogether. You predicted um,
10.
10 points,
10.
10 points, which
Well, sell for 6.
has had. Yeah, well,
Well,
at the minute I was settled for taking 1 point and getting 1 point closer to you and putting the pressure on you. You know, I'm
yeah.
very
Well,
nervous.
yeah.
We agree that Leeds is
Yeah,
in it as well.
understandably.
Leeds.
Could you
We
go
just
back
have to
there,
wait and see
Paul?
how that all.
I think it's worth looking at West Ham. Could you go back there? Or can you go back to that slide there?
Yeah,
I think that we've talked about each other's now. A big game in there's obviously Tottenham versus Forest, because whoever wins that, not only do they get 3 points, but they rob the other team of 3. So in other words, if Forest
yeah,
win, I can only get 3 out of my 6. If we win, you're only getting 1, possibly 2 out of your, you know, the ones that
I
you predicted.
yeah,
West Ham here, yeah. Maybe there's hope here. But West Ham are away to Fulham. Now, for God's sake, Fulham, be as good as you were on Sunday. West Ham at home to Man City. Well, you got to hope. You got to hope for 2 reasons. Man City keep going and doing what they're doing, and then Aston Villa are still in with the Champions League aspirations and do it there. So I going back to what I was saying about current form versus other teams, and then looking ahead, projecting that ahead.
yeah.
If you were West Ham, what would you be saying there?
If I was
What
West
would you really
Ham,
be saying? What would
um,
you be saying there?
you would have to think a draw at Fulham would be about all you could expect to get, with current form. But as you say, with Bowen, they have fight in them, Colin. They have people, they've
Mm-hmm.
players who believe in the
Mm-hmm.
badge. Um,
Yeah.
and I just feel that you said it earlier, I feel they've a win in them somewhere along the way, and I just hope it's not in any of them
Mm-hmm.
2 games, and that we can.
My worry is
I go
that
back to what I
they'll do
say.
Fulham.
I tell you now that the first team among the 3 of us to get a win
Mm.
takes the momentum. That's
Yeah.
advantage, whoever it is. If you get a victory, it's advantage Spurs. If we get a victory, advantage
Well,
Forest. And same with
importantly
West
for
Ham.
we're the last team to play. Now, if you
Yeah,
both lose, that can be good, but if West
that's
Ham
what I'm
and you both
saying.
win, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
So going out last isn't all. Historically,
no,
superstitiously, I always like to go last. So I'm hoping that will transfer across to my team.
yeah.
Okay. I think we've covered everything that we can really.
Prediction for how Forest will do against City. What do you think the score will be?
I think
Forest City.
I think haven't seen City the last few games. I do have to say, head tells me that City will win. Yeah, I think City will win by 2. Yeah, I'm sorry to
Fair
say that.
defence.
Well, I'm not.
Fair defence. Yeah,
My worry is West Ham at
yeah,
Fulham. I hope Fulham are still up for it. I just have a sneaky feeling
yeah,
West Ham are going to get something there.
yeah, yeah.
Liverpool.
Take it a little ahead.
No. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Depressing,
Right.
depressing times,
We've
Colin.
depressed ourselves enough. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They are. They are, and
Yeah,
we
worrying
have to come
times.
on and
And
talk about it.
To all the Man United fans who I slagged last year, thank you for your silence. We mentioned one
Hmm.
pre podcast. We'll not mention his name because I don't
Yeah.
want to wake him up. But yeah, they're flying. They're in third position. Who would have predicted that after 10 games
Hmm.
that they'd be sitting in the top 3
Yeah, it
to
just
get
shows you
Champions
what
League
can be
credentials?
done. Yeah. And to all the Arsenal fans who have, I can't thank for their silence.
Yeah,
But anyway,
exactly.
yeah, no, it's not nothing's been won yet. Okay.
Okay, buddy. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for that. And we will chat soon. I'll put a wee thing up in the bio about your book, Colin, and maybe
Yeah, no
we'll
bother.
explain that in more detail at
Okay.
some stage.
Okay.
And I know that Jill enjoyed it. I just want
It just came
one
up.
final thing to say is Charlie,
Yeah.
who regularly appears on the podcast,
Oh
is in
yeah.
hospital. I want to wish him all the very best.
Yeah.
Get well soon, Charlie. We look forward to having you on again, and get well soon, my friend. I
Yeah.
hope it's a short trip into the hospital and you come back
Here's home. Okay, look.
stronger and better. All right, Colin, take care.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the
See you
games
soon.
over the week, and I'll be in
Cheers.
touch. Take care. Thank you.
Anthony.